Om Sadashiva-Samārambhām Shankara-Acharya-Madhyamām Asmadacharya-Paryantam Vande Guru-Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे। ओम श्री हयग्रीवाय नमः। ओम श्री वल्लभा समेत श्री महागणाधिपतये नमः। We were in the topic of anubhuter-nityatva-upapattih. In this context, we were discussing, in fact, we were here, I think, Yaduktam Ramanujena Nirvishaya Kachit Samnit Nacha Asti. So there is no consciousness or awareness which can be there without an object of consciousness. Okay. The subject and object are always together, and the subject is the awareness. Object is the object of awareness or object of consciousness or cognition. So they are always together. You cannot have any awareness or consciousness without an object being there. This is their argument. And what is the pramana for this? Means anupalabdhehe iti. Anupalabdhi. Because there is no upalabdhi of a samvit which is like nirvishaya. That is because it is always with vishaya. This is their argument. So there is no upalabdhi of a consciousness without vishaya. Now this is what Ramanuja is claiming. Tad asat. That's not true. Why? So now we are asking a question. Kim ayam nirvishaya samvit upalambhaha swasya yadva parasya. So you are saying, you said that this nirvishaya chaitanya has not been known by me or by everybody else, or it cannot be known by anybody. Like that are you saying? If you say that I have only not known it, then it's okay. Everybody need not know it, correct? It is your ajnana. So he says, adye swasya eva ajnatvam. So if you say I do not know, fine, you do not know. How can you then say for others? And if you say it cannot be known by anybody else, for everybody else also it cannot be known, that also we can't accept. Nat vidyaha vai parahridayasya pratyakshatva. How do you know whether others are known or not? Because parahridayam apratyksham, we say whatever is happening in somebody else's buddhi, intellect, because here hridaya is buddhi only, it cannot be known by you. So how are you even saying all these things? So he says, no, it is not about me knowing or somebody else knowing. There is no possibility of a nirvishaya jnana. If there is no possibility of that, how can anybody know? So he is saying, nirvishayam jnanam na sambhavati. There is no possibility, there is no nirvishaya jnanam. It is not a question of me not knowing or somebody else not knowing. But you can't say that. Na vachyam. Nacha nirvishayam jnanam na sambhavati iti vachyam. Why? Tatra hetu abhava. There is no hetu for that. On what basis you are saying that? There has to, see, if you claim something, for any claim, there has to be either it has to be directly perceived, pratyaksha jnanam, or if it is anumana, the inference has to be based on some invariable concomitants, correct? Some hetu, that's what we call. So there has to be a hetu, there has to be a reason. What is the reason here you can give? Okay. Once we ask this, what they are saying, anupalabhyamanatvam hetuhu uktaha eva. So I have already told you, it has not been seen by anybody. Okay, it has not been cognized. That is the hetu. Means that cannot be given as hetu. Na vachyam, you cannot say that. Correct? Na cha anupalabhya manatvam hetuhu taha eva iti vachyam. Why? Tasya savishaya jnane api ativyaptatva. So if you say jnanam, nobody has cognized without any vishaya. In fact, that is true for savishaya jnanam also we say. Okay. Why? Because nahi savishayam jnanam api upalabhyate. So even the whatever you claim as savishaya jnanam, that jnanam or awareness or consciousness also cannot be known. Why? Jnanasya nyayatva abhavasya uktatva. So what we are saying is jnanam can never become a jnayam. So you cannot claim that jnanam has been known. So whatever hetu you are giving is having ativyapti, because it applies to both savishaya jnanam and nirvishaya jnanam, because even in savishaya jnanam also vishaya only becomes jnaya. The jnata, the knower, who is the awareness here, or who is called a jnanam also, that jnana can never become jnaya. It can never become known. Okay, the knowledge can never become known. The consciousness cannot be the one, cannot become an object of consciousness. So we say this, and then he is further saying, Kincha nirvishayam jnanam nasti iti kim tvam nirvishaya jnana abhavam upalabhya pravishi kimuta anupalabhya. So again we ask, see, you are saying nirvishayam jnanam is not there. That abhava, the abhava of the nirvishaya jnanam, have you cognized that abhava or you have not cognized it? So adye, if you have said that I have seen the absence of nirvishaya jnana, if you say like that, but to see the absence of something, you should know the pratiyogi of that. If you say ghata is not there, then you should first know what is ghata. You should have known ghata to even say that ghata is not there in some place, correct? So the pratiyogi jnanam is required. So that's what he is saying. Adye abhavasya pratiyogi purvakatva niyama. So there is a niyama, there is a rule that any abhava means you have to tell abhava of what. And that what, that object, you should know already. So it is pratiyogi purvakatva niyama is there. There is a rule that you should already know the pratiyogi. Katam tava nirvishaya jnana abhavaha upalambhaha. So then how did you know this nirvishaya jnana abhava? So you should have pratyogi jnanam for that. That's what he is saying. Nahi ghatam avidushaha purushasya ghata abhava jnanam bhavati. So without knowing ghata, somebody cannot say that there is ghata abhava, correct? Therefore, if you say that I know the nirvishaya jnana abhava, that means you know nirvishaya jnanam also. That itself establishes that. Okay. If you say I am saying it without knowing it, okay, tritiye, then what? That also you cannot say. Nirvishaya jnana bhavasya anupalabhya nirvishaya jnanam siddhameva. If you say that I do not know, even because of that also it is established, he is saying. Because abhava anupalabdhi will be there, therefore it is there, we will say. So whichever way you put it, it doesn't work. Once we say this, what? Another argument is coming here. What is that? Nanu nyayate anena घटादि विषय जातम इति ज्ञानम इति उत्पत्त्या ज्ञानस्य विषय प्रकाशन एक स्वाभाव्यात् विषय प्रकाशकस्य एव ज्ञानत्वं न तु अन्यस्य. Okay, now here in the previous argument, we were saying jnanam more in a kartari form, correct? Jnanam as jnata, we were saying. But now the Purva Pakshi is saying, no, no, that is not how we define jnana. Okay, jnana, we are giving a karana vyutpatti, jnayate anena iti jnanam. In fact, in this vyutpatti, it is used even in Bhagavad Gita, correct? That amanitwadi, the qualities, the values which one has to develop. Amanitvam, adamhitvam, ahimsa, kshantirarjavam, acharvo, vasanam, shaucham. All this Bhagavan lists. And then he says, etat jnanamiti proktam, ajnanam yadatonyatha. Like that. So all these things are called jnanam. Means there it is nyayate anena. By developing all these values, you have a certain qualification to receive this knowledge. So they help you. They all become a karana for knowing. In that manner, even in the Gita, Bhagavan in fact uses the word jnanam in so many different ways. Okay. So you have, by the context only, you have to understand the vyutpatti. So here these people are saying we are giving you nyayate anena ghatadi vishaya jatam iti. So the ghatadi vishayas are all known through this. That is what is jnanam, we are saying. Okay, in this, with this vyutpatti or with this derivation, jnanasya vishaya prakashana eka swabhavya vishaya prakashakasya eva jnanatvam natu anyasya. So jnana means that which is shining the light on the vishaya. Okay, that which makes the object evident. That is what is jnana, and that is its only swabhava. That is its only nature. And Vishaya Prakashakasya eva jnanatvam, only that which can make things evident, shine the light on objects, can be called jnanam, or it only has jnanatvam, and others do not have. Natu anyasya. Tadeva Vishaya Prakashakatvam, Swayam Prakashatvam, jnanasya. And that ability to show the objects also is called Swayam Prakashatvam, he says, jnanasya. That is what is jnanasya Swayam Prakashatvam. Even the jnana being self-evident or self-consciousness, we say, correct? The ability to show while showing the object, it is also revealing its own existence. That is their point. There cannot be an entity which is self-evident without it revealing some other object. Only in the presence of an object, it reveals the object also, and in the process, it reveals itself, is the point they are making. I don't know to whom still. Okay. Swayam Prakashatvam, Jnanasya Swayam Prakashatvam. And so all this with the Karana Vyutpatti. Now, if we define like this, Jnanam can never be Nirvishayam. That is their argument. So he is saying, Editu Jnanam Nirvishayam Syat, Tarhi Tasya Swaprakasha Jnanatvam Eva Hiyate. So it will give up its Swaprakashatvam if it becomes Nirvishaya, because without Vishaya, it cannot also reveal itself. Its own existence also cannot be revealed. Only when the object is there, its existence also is revealed. This is something, see, even in modern context, let us say the light rays are traveling in vacuum. It cannot be cognized by eyes. Understand this. Any light rays we are seeing, we can only cognize if it is reflected of something. Something like that they are saying. But that is true only for the reflected light, correct? Even then, the original light is still there. It has to be there without depending on anything. But the whole confusion here you can see is always confusing the Vritik Jnanam with the Swarupa Jnanam, and they are somehow proposing a Vritti Jnanam, which is self-existent, without the Swarupa Jnanam being there. That is the whole confusion here. So he is claiming that if you say Nirvishaya Jnanam is there, then that Jnana cannot be Swaprakasha, because what Vishaya it will reveal them? There is no Vishaya. So tasya Swaprakasha Jnanatvam eva hiyata iti chet ma eva. If you say that it is not like that, why? Yadi Vishaya Prakashakam eva Jnanam iti uchyate, tarhi Suryadi Prakashopi Jnanam syat. Okay, if you define Vishaya Prakasha, the Prakasha is taking generally as light. Okay, physical light also is Prakasha. Then even Surya will become Jnana, correct? Because without the light being there, Gatadihi you cannot see, correct? So, Tenahi Gatadihi Prakashyate Nahi Andhakarastaha Gataha Bhati, because the Gata which is in darkness is not evident, it cannot be cognized. We require light. Therefore, by your definition, if you say that Vishaya Prakashana Eka Swarupa, means that is there even in Adityadi or even Agni, etc., we have to take, correct? Okay, for Ativyapti Varanaya, then they have to add something more. So he is saying Yeditu Tad Ativyapti Varanaya Prakashakatvam Nama Jnana Janakatvam iti uchyate. So Prakashaka means not simple physical light, but it is the light of awareness. Okay, it has to create cognition. Okay, Jnana Janakatvam. So that which gives rise to a cognition alone, we mean by Prakashaka, not the one which is simply physical light. So Prakashakatvam Jnana Janakatvam iti uchyate, tarhi Vishaya Jnana Janakam Jnanam iti vakye Jnana Shabdadvayasya kimartha vedaha uta Aikartyam. Okay. So now if you make the definition, if you remove the Prakasha and put Jnana there, then you have two Jnanam in your definition. Because Jnanam you are defining as Vishaya Jnana Janakam. So what are those two Jnanas now? That becomes a problem for him now, correct? So he is asking the question now. So there are two Jnana Shabdas in your definition now, because Jnanam itself you are saying is Vishaya Jnana Janakam in your Karana Vyutpatti. So what is the meaning of these two Jnana Shabdas? And is there any difference in the meaning or not? First you tell me. Artha Vedaha is there or not? Okay, if you say Artha Veda is there, because without Artha Veda, if you are doing a Prayoga like this, it will be contradictory. It won't work out, really speaking. So, you have to say there is Artha Veda. So, Adye Kaha Saha Artha Vedaha. So, if you say there is Artha Veda, what is this Artha Veda you are talking about? What is the difference in meaning between the two Jnana Shabda? Means, then you have to say Janya Jnanam Phalam Janaka Jnanam tu Tat Karanamiti Chet. So, the Janaka is the Karana, and whatever is born, Vishaya Jnana, which is born, is that is the Vishaya Jnanam there, correct? That is Phala Jnanam, Phala Bhutam Jnanam. They have to differentiate like that. That is the result. The one which produces the result is one Jnanam, which is the Janaka. That is the Vritti basically. And then the whatever Jnanam which is born out of that, that is the Janya Jnanam, Phalam. So, Janya Jnanam Phalam, Janaka Jnanam tu tat Karanamiti Chet Tatra Yat Phalabhutam Jnanam Tat Kim Swaprakasham Uta Paraprakashyam. See, the Janaka Jnana is Swaprakasha, you are saying, because it makes it lights up the Janya Jnanam in this case. Okay, or the Vishaya, it lights up the Vishaya. Because it produces the Jnanam of the Vishaya, whatever is that Jnana which is producing the Vishaya Jnanam, that is the Karana instrument, and it is also Swaprakasha because of that reason itself you are saying. Vishaya Prakashakatvam hi Swaprakashatvam is your contention. Okay, but the Vishaya Jnana which is produced, Janya or Phala Jnanam, that is Swaprakasha or not, you tell me now. Okay, Swaprakasham uta Paraprakashyam. Okay, Adhyaha you cannot say. Why? Because it is not creating any jnanam by itself, correct? Tasya Vishaya Jnana Janakatva Abhavena Swaprakashatva Abhava. Because it itself is produced. It is not producing anything. So Vishaya Jnana Janakatva Abhavena, by having this Abhava Vishaya Jnana Janakatvam, it cannot be called Swaprakasha according to your definition. Understand that? Then can you say it is it is Paraprakasha? Even that you cannot say. Why? Because Paraprakashasya Parasya Bhava. In fact, if you say it is Paraprakasha, there is no Prakasha. Prakashasya Parasya Bhava thesis. So there is no another Prakasha. You cannot have one more Prakasha. There is only one Chaitanya. Where is the other Chaitanya? Even if you say it is there, okay, he's saying Tat Satvecha, Tat Satvecha, okay, Tat Paranishtam, Prakrita Phala Jnana Prakashakatvam. So, if the Paraprakasha also, how you can establish, because that itself should be a Janya Jnanam again. Means then that should have another Prakashaka. Okay, Prakrita Phala Jnana Prakashakatvam, Phala Jnana Jnana Janakatvam eva iti, Jnana Anavastha Prasakta. So it will go again. Okay, the Paraprakasha which you are talking about also has to be a Phala Jnanam. And there has to be a Prakashaka for that, correct? That will become Phala Jnana Jnana Janakatva. It has to have, and like that it keeps on going. Infinite regress you will have. Jnana Anavastha Prasakta. Oh, that is also a problem. If you say Edi Aikarthyam, okay, Tarhi Vyaghata, they both mean the same. Means how can they both mean? It can both be Janaka and Janya. That is contradictory. It is the one which is creating, it is also born at the same time, means that doesn't work out. So what are you even trying to establish? You cannot establish, your definition falls apart. Okay, then what? Tasmad yadi Vishaya Avabodha Janakatvam Swaprakashatvam iti vivakshitam tarhi Vishaya Avabodha Janakam Karanabhutam eva jnanam Swaprakashakam syat natu Phalabhutam. Okay, now you see, therefore what happens if you give a definition like this, that Vishaya Avabodha Janakatvam means that which produces a cognition of object, that alone can also be self-evident. Okay, that alone can be self-luminous, Swaprakashatvam. That is how, what is your vivaksha? That is what you want to convey. That is your definition. Then what? Vishaya Avabodha Janakam Karanabhutam eva jnanam Swaprakasham syat. So only the Karanabhuta Jnana alone, that which is instrumental in producing this Vishaya Jnanam or the cognition of Vishaya, that alone will be self-evident. But actually the Vishaya Jnanam which is produced cannot be Swaprakasha. And that is not also desirable for you. Nacha Ishtapattihi Karanasya eva Swaprakashatve Kartuhu Atmanaha Swaprakashatva Bhava Prasangat. Why? Because why it is not desirable. Okay. Na Ishtapattihi, why are we saying? Because if you say only the Karana is Swaprakasha, because any Karana cannot be there without a Karta, correct? Who is the karta here? If you say jnanam is always a karana, then even for them, Atma is the karta. Whether it is Jivatma, Paramatma, again they have differences in all that, but let us forget that. So there has to be an Atma which is the karta. If jnanam is only having karana vyutpatti and jnanam is karana, obviously it is vritti jnanam. Then who is the one who is using that instrument? If that is the karta, who is Atma. And now you are saying karana alone is Swaprakasha. Then what happens to the karta? Kartuhu Atmanaha Swaprakashatva Bhava Prasangaha. Atma will not have Swaprakashatvam anymore. And what is the implication of that? Whether if you say, then the Paramatma also will not be Swaprakasha. Brahmanasya Swaprakashatva Bhava Prasanga. Okay. So all these problems are coming in your definition. The Pratyegatma also will become not Swaprakasha. Brahman also will not have Swaprakashatvam. But what is the definition we are giving? Yaditu ananyavabhasyatve sati swa itara sarva avabhasakatvam swaprakashatvam iti vivakshitam. So if you take the definition we are giving, that which is not objectifiable by anything, so being unobjectifiable, that which makes everything evident, correct? Makes itself and everything else evident. That is Swaprakashatvam, we say. That is self-luminosity or self-evident. If that is how we convey this, correct? If that is what we want to convey, then it works out. Tarhi sarva ishta siddhihi sarva anishta pariharascha. So then it is whatever the definition leads to desirable outcomes, okay, or conclusions, and any anishta, all the anishta also is taken care of. There is parihara for that. Also, karana jnanam can never be swaprakasham, we are saying. Okay, karana jnanam tu na swaprakasham tasya jadatvena. So the karana or the vritti cannot be swaprakasha because that is manovritti and it is jada. Mind itself is jada because it is something which is created, correct? So, and it is chaitanya avabhasyatva. Mind itself is lighted up by consciousness alone. Therefore, any karana which is lighted up by the consciousness cannot be swaprakasha. This also is a problem. Okay. Up to this, now one level of argument is over. Now he is starting another kind of a definition. Okay, yadva astitve sati ananya avabhasyatvam swaprakashatvam. Okay, so otherwise one more kind of definition we are giving is what? That which exists, but that which can never be objectified. Okay, ananya avabhasyatvam means what? By anything else, it is not shined or it is not cognized, but it is there. Then how will you know it is there? Means that is because it is self-evident. So that comes there, correct? So Swaprakashatvam itself is defining as astitve sati, existing, okay, being existent. It is not cognized by anything. This way also we can define, he is saying. Now why are we defining like this? This astitve sati we have to put. Why? Because sashat shringadav ati vyapti varanaya visheshanam, the astitva visheshana, why are we giving? Because it has to be something which is, otherwise if it is not existent means even sashat shringa will qualify for ananya avabhasyatvam because it cannot be cognized by anything else, correct? The hair's heart, which is atyanta asat, it is absolutely non-existent. Then your definition will go there. Therefore, to avoid that, sashat shringadav ati vyapti varanaya visheshanam, so astitvam you have to put. And also what? Vyavahara satye jagati sa ajnane ati vyapti varanaya visheshyam. Okay. If you only say astitvam is the thing, then the ati vyapti can go into all the objects in the world, correct? The objective world. So to remove that only ananya avabhasyatvam also we have. Okay. So both these things together it has to come. When it comes together, it basically negates atyanta sat and also the mithya jagat. That's why jagat is mithya. That's what he's calling as vyavahara satya, correct? Vyavahara satye jagati sa ajnane means it is along with ajnana. Jagat along with ajnana is the vyavahara satya, and to avoid our definition also indicating this jagat, we have to say ananya avabhasyatvam. Okay. So both these things together will make it, we can also give as a definition or a lakshana for swaprakashatva. And this definition will not apply for vritti jnana. So idancha vritti jnane karana bhute nasti eva. And this kind of definition also if you give, it cannot apply to the vritti jnanam, which is karana. Basically, it is the vritti itself is what is called pramana, correct? The vritti avachinna chaitanyam only we call it pramanam, and that is only a karana or an instrument. It cannot be there. Okay. But once we say this, the Purva Pakshi comes, and it is not there even in the other Phalabhuta Jnana also. Okay. So, nacha phale api nasti eva iti vachyam tatra sattva. They are saying, no, it is not there in Phalabhuta Jnanam also, whatever you are saying, this definition will not apply there. Means we say, no, it works. Okay, it is there. Tatra sattva. How? So once we say tatra sattva, again the Purva Pakshi is coming. Nacha karnajanye phale katam ananya avabhasyatvam iti vachyam. So if it is produced by a karana, how can you say it is not revealed by this karana? The karana only is producing, using the karana only, a Vishaya Jnanam is produced means. How can you say that Vishaya Jnanam is Ananya Avabhasya, the Phalabhuta Jnana is Ananya Avabhasya means? What we are saying is, even though we say that Jnanam is produced and all that, that is only with reference to the Vishaya, correct? But whatever this awareness to which everything becomes evident, the Ghatam and Ghatajnanam, everything is becoming evident to what? The Nitya Chaitanya, the Sakshi. Nitya Chaitanya Seva Phalatvena Ajanyatvat, we say. So really speaking, whatever the Phalajnanam which you call as Janyam, also is in the form of Nitya Chaitanya only. The Janyatum is only with reference to the Vishaya and the Karana and all that. Really, it is not born. Okay, it is Ajanyam. That Ajanya Chaitanya only is indicated by the Phalajnanam also. That's what we are pointing out here. So if Phalajnanam is always there, then why should you even produce it, or how can, what is the requirement for this Karana then? This is the next question. Okay. So here, Nacha Karana Anartakyam Vishaya Avachinna Chaitanya Avaraka Jnana Ajnana Nivrityartham Tasya Avashekatva. So this is why Ajnana as Avaranam of Jnanam we have to always say. My Guruji used to say, otherwise you cannot even talk about Jnana. That's why even in the Gita, Bhagavan makes it very clear, correct? Jnanena avritam jnanam, tena muhyanti jantavaha. Why we have to say that? Because, of course, Swarupa Jnanam you live. Even otherwise, Ishvara is always there with Sarvajnatva, correct? There is already Ishvara with Sarvajñatvam. In that Sarvajñatvam, Atma Jnanam also is included. The Jiva is born Ajnaha. Jiva doesn't have Atma Jnanam and also doesn't have any Jnanam of the Jagat also. Vishaya Jnanam also is not there, Atma Jnanam also is not there. That is Jiva. And why it is so? Because the Jiva Upadhi is like that. Ishvara Upadhi is Maya Upadhi. It gives the Sarvajñatvam to Ishvara. But the Jiva who is born with the Antakarana as the Upadhi. The very fact that we have to use the Antakarana to know something itself is an Avarana. Understand that? Because unless you use the Antakarana and create the Manovritti matching the Vishaya, because the Manovritti has to be in sync with the Vishaya, then the Avarana goes away. The covering goes away. That is how Jnanam itself is. Every Jnanam is really removal of Ajnana. Because already Sarvajñatvam is there in the Srishti, correct? Sarvajña Ishvara is already there. Jnanam is already there, but it is covered. And removal of the covering requires the activity of the instrument. In that process, we say it is the Jnanam, Janyam Jnanam and all that, but Jnanam is already there. It is not that you are totally creating a new Jnanam or anything. It is simply the covering is removed. Is that clear? Then only Jnanam can both be Janyam and also Swarupa Jnanam, Nitya Jnanam, correct? Ajanyam also. The Ajanyam appears as though it is Janyam because of the removal of the covering. So this is very important. That is why Ajnanam is Avarana. Always understand that. Without Avaranam, in fact, Vikshepa also cannot be there. Avaranam is the most important factor there. That is why it is called Tamasa Pratyaya and all that. Bhashyakara also says it is Tamasa Pratyaya. And Bhagavan in the 14th chapter, I think, also says this Ajnana is Tamaso Jnanam and all that is there. Correct? From Tamas only Ajnana is there. Because Sattva is always Prakasha Swarupa. But the Sattva has to be covered by Tamas. For Ishvara, there is no Tamas. That's why, because that is why the Ishvara Upadhi itself is Sattva Pradhana Upadhi. Correct? And Jiva also, some Sattva should be there because some self-awareness is there for Jiva. That's why we call Jiva Upadhi as Malina Sattvam. Ishvara Upadhi is Shuddha Sattvam. There is no covering at all completely for Ishvara. For Jiva, some Malina is there, some Tamas also is mixed. And that removal of that Tamas is Jnanam. So, all this Karana, Vyapara, etc. is only to remove this Ajnana, Avarana. So, Avaraka, Ajnana Nivrityartham, Karana, Vyapara is meaningful. So, it is required in fact. That's the Avashyakatva, he says. So, once we say this, but still what the Purvapakshi is saying, Ajanyasya Phala Vyavahara Anupapattih. Ajanya cannot be a phalam of anything. Phalam means it is produced. Any result has to be produced. That means it cannot be there already. This is their contention. Okay. How can you have a result which is already there? That is the beauty of accomplishing the accomplished, correct? What you say is fine. For accomplishing the unaccomplished, it has to be always produced. But if Ajnana is the problem, Ajnana is the covering, then accomplishing the accomplished is possible. But now he is saying, anyway, he is saying, Ajanyasya phala vyavahara anupapattihi ajanye nitye mokshe tat sattvat. Okay. Now we are saying directly, nacha ajanyasya phala vyavahara anupapatti. Okay, if you say ajanyasya phala vyavahara anupapatti, it is not tenable. Phala vyavahara or any activity to produce something which is already there, which is uncreated. It is not possible means it is possible. Why? Even we say that moksha also is like that, correct? Moksha is nitya. If moksha is nitya, even for Vishishtaadvaitins and Dvaitins and all these people also, they have to talk about a nitya moksha. If they talk about anitya moksha, in fact, it's really anirmoksha prasangaha only. We cannot accept that. But if moksha is nitya, it cannot be created newly. I don't know how this Dvaitins, because Dvaitins and Vishishtaadvaitins talk about going to some loka and all that. So how they address this nitya moksha issue, I am not very clear. Anyway, even for them it is there. I think that's why he's saying ajanye nitye mokshe tatsatva. You also say that moksha is nitya, then it cannot be janya. And therefore, but it is there. Phala vyavahara is there for moksha because moksha is something which is purushartha. Okay, it is gained as a phala. Therefore, what? Tasmat ajnatam vishaya avachinnam brahmachaitam jnatam satphalam bhavati iti na tasya janyatvam. So that's what we are saying. The ajnatam vishaya avachinna brahma chaitanya. So the brahma chaitanya, which is conditioned by the vishaya, because everything is chaitanya only for us. There is a vishaya avachinna chaitanya. Then there is a pramatra avachinna chaitanya, which is the antakarana avachinna chaitanya. Then the pramana avachinna chaitanya is the antakarana vritti avachinna chaitanya, we say. Okay, all are chaitanya only. All are consciousness. The avachinnatvam means you can say it is conditioned or limited and all that. Like even the pot limits the space, not really, but as though limits. That is the avachinnatvam we are talking about here. So, the Vishaya avachinna Brahma Chaitanyam is ajnatam because it is covered by ajnanam. And when it becomes jnatam, then we call that is what? That is the phala. Okay, phala jnana or phala avachinna chaitanya. Vritti pratipalita chaitanya. That's only because the vritti and Vishaya avachinna chaitanya become one. That is the phala avachinna chaitanya we are talking about, or that only becomes the phala. But nothing is newly created. That chaitanyam is already there. Okay. Therefore, it doesn't have any janyatva. Na tasya janyatvam. So in this way, only accomplishing the accomplished happens. That is true for anything which is covered by ajnana. Correct? So I keep my specs like this on top of my head and I forget it. Then I'm searching everywhere. Means I'm already the one with the specs, correct? So how do I now get the specs means? All you have to do is you have to know that I already have it. Somebody points out, hey, you are searching for your specs, but you are already the one with the specs. So once that ajnanam goes, I become the one with the specs. But it's not that I was not the one with the specs already, correct? That is the beauty of the covering of ajnanam and the magic of knowledge. Therefore, there is no real janyatvam or anything here. So once we tell all these things, it is too much for the Purvapakshi. He says, Hanta, hey, stop, wait. See, evam Brahma Chaitanyasya jnatatvena ananyavabhasyatvam, anya avabhasyatvam eva sampraptamiti. So now he is saying, Purvapakshi is point saying, you gave a definition. What is the definition we gave previously? Astitve sati ananya avabhasyatvam suprakashatvam, like that you gave the definition. Now you are also saying that Brahman is avabhasya, correct? Because you are saying ajnatam, Brahma is ajnatam. That is the cause for samsara, etc. Then Brahma become jnatam means samsara is gone. So Brahman is avabhasya, Brahman is known. then how can it be Swaprakasha? Because Anya Avabhasyatvam is now there for Brahman. That's what he's saying. So if whatever you are saying till now, in this manner, if we understand, then Brahma Chaitanyasya Jnatatvena Anya Avabhasyatvam eva Sampraptamiti Chet Ma eva. If you say that it is not so, why? Vishaya Avachinna Chaitanyasya eva Jnatatvam Natu Kevalasya iti. What we say is only the Chaitanya which is conditioned by the Vishaya becomes known, not the Kevala Chaitanya. So it is like saying eyes cannot be seen, correct? But the eye pratibimba, which is like Avachinna Chaitanya, can be seen in the mirror. Like that, Chaitanya by itself is Kevala Chaitanyam, can never become an object of anything. But that same Chaitanya, which is conditioned by the Vishaya, that can become an object, like even your pratibimba of your eyes can be known, correct? Eyes cannot know itself. It cannot objectify itself. But whether the eye pratibimba and eye are same or not and all, there are discussions there. We don't have to go into that, but I'm just saying that. So that's what he is pointing it out here. The Vishaya Avachinna Chaitanya only becomes Jnata or known, not the Kevala Chaitanya. So he's saying Vishaya Gataha hi Saha Avabhasyatva Dharmaha. Okay. Vichinne Brahmani. Okay. Avabhasyatva Dharma Avachinne should be. I think that is being Avagraha has to be there. So the Avabhasyatva Dharma, whatever quality of being known, okay, that is there only in the Avachinna Brahmani Aropita. The condition, it is all superimposed on the Brahman which is conditioned. It is not there in the Brahman by itself. Okay. Tasmat Karana Bhutam Jnanam Swaprakasham. So here, this, even if you take by your definition, correct? Because here, this Karana Bhutam Jnanam Swaprakasham suddenly is saying, therefore, what he is saying is, even the Swaprakashatvam, etc., we can only claim for the Vritti Jnanam, he is saying. Because Phala Jnanam, Jnana Swarupa, you cannot use any words also for that, correct? It is Yato Vacho Nivartante, Aprahapya Manasa Saha, and all that we say. So even the status of being a known, that is why we say that basically when we talk about Atma Jnanam or Brahma Jnanam, it is purely Ajnanam going away. That's it. Ajnana goes away. So that is the Akhandakara Vritti we are talking about. And after that, there is no objectification or anything. It cannot be objectified, in fact. That's the whole idea. So we'll continue this in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Guru Namaha Harihi Om